The FBI issued a memo encouraging ICE officers to stop wearing masks in the field and to specifically identify themselves. That directive came after several incidents of agents being impersonated. ICE agents say they wear those masks to keep them from being doxxed. ICE also says it's concerned about the safety of its agents in the field. In Fullerton, California, this week, police came across a man pointing a gun at a woman on a busy street. He identified himself as an ICE agent and said he felt like she was following him. Joining us now, staff writer at The Atlantic, Nick Miroff. He covers immigration and the Department of Homeland Security and just wrote about the issue of ICE agents wearing face masks. And he says those face mask coverings aren't going anywhere. All right, so Nick, good to have you. Let's talk about the masks. FBI wants them to stop wearing them. Why would they not listen?
Well, I think we've seen other federal agencies that are assisting ICE in this mass deportation campaign quickly adopt the same, face coverings. One veteran ICE official I talked to said that the FBI agents and the other agencies from the Department of Justice seem even more keen to wear masks than ICE officers because they don't really want to be there. And so I think there's broad concern about, the effect that this is having, on the image of these agencies, even though nobody really expects the masks to come off anytime soon.
How big of a problem are these impersonations?
Well, there have been several, instances already of criminals using masks, claiming to be, federal officers or agents in order to rob people or abuse people in some way or another. And it all points to a deterioration of trust. I mean, one of the reasons why police officers show their faces and have, name tags on their uniforms is to give people confidence that they are who they say they are and that they should be trusted. And so if you have officers of the law going around looking like, bank robbers or stagecoach robbers with gaiters over their faces, they certainly don't reassure anyone that they're that they represent the law. And it's understandable that people would be confused and lose trust.
How is this any different than what we expect and demand of our regular law enforcement officers? I mean, they've got to wear a badge. They have badge numbers. Their names are on their uniforms. They're not masked. If a regular police officer who is upholding the law on the streets of this country does not wear a mask and is easily identifiable, why can these ICE agents, these federal agents, hide who they are, hide their identities? I don't understand the two sets of rules.
Well, really this points to a major difference between policing by state and local authorities versus federal authorities. If we think about this, the police officers in your city or town are accountable to the elected officials of your local jurisdiction, of the mayor, and they have spent, decades trying to gain the trust of the community. The community pays their salaries. And, they have uniforms. They represent your city, your community. They want people to know who they are and to trust them. And they are in it for the long haul. Federal agencies like ICE, like these Border Patrol agents that have been deployed to places like LA and Chicago, are accountable really to the White House and to, faraway federal agencies. And there's almost no local control over what they're doing. And so, they are in there to execute a specific, mission set, in this case, a mass deportation campaign on behalf of the president. And so they don't really care if people are upset about not being able to see their faces.
Where's the line, though, for drawing their weapon? I mean, we have this reporting that I mentioned a moment ago from Fullerton, California, where an ICE agent pulled his gun and pointed it at a woman in a car. He says the woman was following him. She says she wasn't. She lives in that neighborhood. What is the bar that they have to clear to pull out a weapon and point it at an individual?
Okay, we're seeing cases like this pretty much every day in which Border Patrol agents or ICE officers are pulling out their weapons when confronted with angry protesters or crowds or people that they think are following them. It points to how edgy the current environment is in a lot of these cities where ICE and the Border Patrol are deployed very aggressively. And, there have been two shooting instances in Chicago so far. No one is going to be surprised if there are more. And, the federal government is eager to charge people with obstructing federal officers, getting in the way. But, some of these protest tactics that we've seen, especially in Chicago and Los Angeles, have made it much harder for ICE and the Border Patrol to do the kinds of raids and roundups that they want to do. And so I don't think we should be surprised if we see more instances like this of weapons being drawn.
Can I linger on what you said a moment ago, that there are some out there in the field who are covering their face because they don't want to be there? What are you hearing from folks like that?
I hear from veteran ICE officials all the time who know that this is bad for the agency's image, that it's bad for law enforcement generally. It's bad for the country to have federal agents and officers going around, wearing face coverings and masks and looking intimidating. Certainly, there are plenty of officers and agents that are happy to do this, that that are eager to cover up like this. But there are many others that feel very conflicted about what they're doing. They've never been asked to do a job like this in which they're out in public, grabbing people on the street, being filmed constantly, in many cases being confronted with angry, residents and families. It's a very stressful job, and putting on a mask for a lot of these agents and officers is a way to kind of opt out of that and to try to wall it off a little bit from what they have to do.
Yeah. Nick Miroff of The Atlantic. Nick, thanks so much for joining us.